There seems to be an awful lot of sad stories in the news today, and there are thousands missing. Does anybody care? We built a channel where we talk about those faces. Talking news. Debbie. Cassie Barnes has still not been found, and it's been 2 years since her case first hit the spotlight. Breaking. Chad Daybell and Vallow both behind bars. Sarah Galloway was found. She wasn't found alive. What happened to Sarah Galloway?
It's too heartbreaking to share.
Children are still missing. Joinder say, you're in shame. You just got away with it. Welcome to Talking News. Hello everyone. My name is Debbie. We use big stories to push little faces.
Hello everyone, welcome to Chasing a Murderer Talking News. Before we get started, take a moment to subscribe and show your support to this channel. Thank you. Guys, we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on in news right now. One of them being the Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow case. And we know that we seen at the very beginning of this fantastic, yet ominous love fairy tale going on between two married couples that belong to the LDS religion. They start branching out from their main doctrine, create their own doctrines and their own rules. And it was the very beginning of a very dangerous occult. After both of their spouses are dead under suspicious circumstances, the couple are married just a few weeks later in Hawaii. And during this time, their two children, Tylee, Ryan, and JJ Vallow, are missing. But the world continues on as if everything is perfectly normal. Nothing is wrong. The two were inseparable. Their love to be that of a fairy tale. They would do anything for each other's support. Lori Vallow was the first to be put behind bars, and Chad showed up to the court hearings and followed her around as she was moved from Hawaii back to Idaho, before finally police get a warrant to research Chad Daybell's property, where they find the two missing children in his backyard. Many of us watched this unfold as media was capturing every moment that they could from a certain distance anyways. And not long after, an audio recording comes out where he's speaking to Lori Vallow while she's in jail. And you can tell that he seems to know that police are on, some type of clue that the kids are going to be uncovered and their dirty deeds as well. And boy, was it what they found those kids, the condition that they were found in, which we won't discuss right now, was just not very good. Wasn't long, and police were arresting Chad Daybell. The couple seemed to be supporting each other pretty strong, and this went on for over a year, at least until Lori was deemed incompetent. And that's when things put in a different feel in the air. Chad Daybell's attorney, John Pryor, they wanted to go ahead and proceed forward with this case, go to trial, but Lori wasn't capable of doing so. You got to remember, I don't think I mentioned it, that their trial is joined. And so you have all these little complicated issues coming up. Chad Daybell they tried to get a separation based off the fact that they didn't know when Lori was going to be deemed well enough to go forward. For me, this was a perfect opportunity for the Chad Daybell to separate the trials and to go his own direction. And it wasn't long after that I kind of suspected this anyways. Once Lori probably caught wind of this, well, suddenly she's confident. There's been a lot of emotions in between all this, and that's what they do, defense, they stall. But once the two were reunited, and we started moving forward, a lot of people were wondering what's going on between Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. Do they still love one another like they did when they first, well, before they went into jail? Media was seen asking that very question to both Lori and Chad as they exited a courtroom one day. Of course, they didn't get a response. We're learning that Chad Daybell most likely knows how Lori Vallow works since he was working at her same level or capacity when this case was at its hottest. One thing I've learned researching Lori Vallow is if things don't go her way, she'll find a way to punish you. But just recently, there are documents surfacing saying that Chad Daybell once again wants to separate the trial. What's the reasoning, though? According to a motion that was filed just recently this year, I think a lot of you realize that Lori didn't waive her right to a speedy trial, which a lot of people following this case believe will actually help give her attorneys more time, a few months more to prepare, where she was scheduled at one point for October 11th, which didn't make sense because you had Chad's that was scheduled out to 2023, so January of 2023, and then you had her trial being, since they are joined, for October 11th of 2022. So that would have been happening this month, in fact, if it had stayed on that schedule. You gotta remember, the two children involved with this case have still not been laid to rest, still are waiting for that peaceful moment to arrive, but it seems like it's not going to come anytime soon. And if both cases are not set for the same day in trial, that will be considered an improper severance. You got to remember that these two are facing the ultimate punishment, the death penalty. And the judge presiding over this trial is Boyce. And remember, he's kind of new. So he's stepping into a world where he's got to learn really quickly. Lori Vallow's defense attorneys are going through a mountain of evidence in order to prepare for this trial. Whereas we know John Pryor, we're not hearing so much from him until lately. He also has a mountain of discovery to go through. So with the latest motion coming from John Pryor himself, where they are wanting to have their case severed from Lori Vallow. Is this just a way to delay more, or is it a way to actually pull himself away from his lover and wife, Lori Vallow? Is he about to basically, a lot of people are saying, throw her under the bus? According to the motion, it seems that the reasoning for this is the fact that after saying they wanted to take a while and push their trial out to January of 2023, after receiving more evidence from the prosecution, John Pryor claims that he needs a little bit more time to prepare. And so they're asking that their trial be set for later on. In fact, nearly a year later, of October 2023. So at this point, it just depends on what Lori Vallow's attorneys are going to say and what the judge is going to say, and whether or not these these guys are going to be severed, because this is what John Pryor had to say about his client. So this is after several motions were filed. He said, in a 31-page filing Tuesday, John Pryor asked Judge Stephen W. Boyce, again, now this is the second time, to separate Chad's case from his wife, Lori Vallow. They argued that if they kept this case, their trial together, several of Chad's constitutional rights to a fair trial would be very violated. And I'll have to come back to this one in a second. That same day, John Pryor files another motion, which is about 28 pages, asking Judge Boyce to continue the trial set to start in January of next year to October of next year. And again, he needs more time to prepare due to the complexity of the investigation and the amount of evidence that has been turned in just recently by prosecution. One of those prosecutors being Rob Wood. But that wasn't it for motions. In fact, the next day, John Pryor filed 2 more motions. One of those being the fact that they asked Judge Boyce to make an official order allowing Chad to continue to wear street clothes to all future hearings. Now, we all realize that Lori Vallow just recently went to court to get rid of the cameras, the audio in their trial that's coming up. So, which we don't know when that's going to be, the way things are going. But here's the thing. John Pryor and his client, Chad Daybell, decided to request to allow cameras in the courtroom. So we know that Judge Boyce ordered them to ban all cameras, and the prosecution was on the same page. According to the defense team for Lori Vallow, this would make it hard for them to find an impartial jury, the way that media has been covering, her emotions, her hearings. But Chad Daybell says that this could be financially basically devastating to his family if they don't have cameras in the courtroom. So here's what he exactly had to say. According to the motion, defense says that they have concerns that the lack of public access to the trial would cause financial hardships to members of the family or families, limit the parties' family access, and limit the public from adequate access to what is a trial of great interest to the public. The defense seeks an opportunity to assert additional reasons for opening the proceedings to public access. So I've often wondered if this is just a technique to try to slow things down, make it more difficult for the prosecutor so that he might have, if he's thinking about accepting plea deals, maybe get offered a better one. Just so, they can get things going, because it's the prosecutor's job to get this done swiftly. And remember, this is a death penalty case. Very serious. And so defense is going to have all this new DNA evidence coming in. They're going to need more time to process this and get their case together. So you have Lori Vallow, who's saying don't have the cameras in the courtroom. Chad Daybell saying, yes, we want to have the cameras in the courtroom. So obviously the family's financially struggling. It's going to be difficult for them to go all the way to Elder County to trial, especially for how many weeks they intend for this to take. So obviously there's, people that they're worried about that want to watch the trial in the comforts of their own home. This makes absolute sense. It's going to be expensive to have to drive back and forth in that distance. And so it's going to be interesting to see how Boyce will handle this, because now, the family, they do have the right to see the trial. And will he reverse the fact that cameras are no longer allowed in the courtroom? So I think what he should have done is actually allowed the cameras in, but put very strong guidelines and strict rules for the people in there filming the trial. There are a lot of people that have kept up with this trial, and it would be only fair for the public to be able to see this trial and to see justice come for the children, especially the children, and several other people like Tammy Daybell, Chad Daybell's wife, who passed away, and Charles Vallow, which is Lori Vallow's ex-husband, that is, well, they suspect that she had a role to play in his demise. So a lot of people are wondering, you know, what is going on between Chad and Lori? Are they still in love? Are they still a couple? Or is Chad Daybell waking up? Because if you go back and view his demeanor right before they're arrested, he's very confident. He felt pretty certain that this is the lifestyle he wanted. This is, he wasn't worried about jail and being away from his family, the consequences of what's going on in this case. But it appears there might be something peeking through, and that he's now having second thoughts about everything that happened when he was involved with Lori Vallow on the outside of these bars. So what do you guys think? Make sure that you share it below. I wanted to do a quick go over on this video because I know a lot of you have asked me to kind of talk about this. We've been dealing with the hurricane, and we almost got flooded here, and my neighborhood was pretty flooded, but we survived. We didn't ever lose electricity, so we were one of the lucky ones. So definitely take a moment, guys, to share below what you think about these motions and cameras being in the courtroom during trial or not to be present. Share why you feel this way. And I want to send my love out to all those families in Florida who are still dealing with this hurricane. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.